Hey, welcome back, everyone. Thanks for tuning in and watching the Cypress Sports Show, brought to you by Coach's Corner, your go-to spot before and after the game. I'm Jeff Russell here with Mark Slevcove. Today, we're going to speak with KTLA sports reporter Rahshaun Haylock. Coach, we love talking to Rahshaun.
Right.
And this time, he's going to be here in person for once.
For once.
All right.
Hey, we've never seen him before in person.
I know.
Only
I
on
can't
TV.
wait. We got to introduce him to everybody. Nobody knows who he is. So he's going to be back on campus for the first time in a long time. So it's going to be great to visit with him. We're going to check in with Mr. Pfeiffer in his Destination Jiu-Jitsu segment, 54 with 5'4". Coach, we got a weird email the other day from 5'4".
There's rumors.
There's rumors that Pfeiffer is not liking this gig.
I think he's great in front of the camera. The kids love him. Staff loves him when he comes out to come see him. But
the 4 people that watch only watch his segment. Why would he not want that? He's the star.
maybe he wants a bigger contract.
Oh, there we go. We need to negotiate a little bit. All right. Well, we'll get to that in a few. Right now, let's hear the update.
All right, some fall sports have completely finished up. Winter sports are going to get cracking next week, and we still got some CIF action happening. The football team lost Thursday night to El Medina 28-14 in the final game of the Delta League season, but the team was granted an at-large spot in the CIF Division 8 playoffs that begin this Friday night at St. Pius X, St. Matthias in Downey at 7 p.m. Good luck to the fellas as they enter part 3 of the season, the playoffs.
Let's try to say the name 3 times fast.
Nope.
That was a lot.
Girls volleyball defeated Marina last week 3-1 in the CIF quarterfinals, and then traveled to Bishop Diego in Santa Barbara on Saturday in the semifinals. Despite a great effort from the team led by Isabella Faro, the Centurions fell 3-1, but their season isn't over as they have qualified for a spot in the CIF State Regionals, which will begin next week on Tuesday, and we'll get our draw on Sunday.
Real quick on that. So, I'm sure we'll talk about that with Ray when we get on there. The playoffs, right? The whole point of the way we're doing it is to create competitiveness in those playoffs. And every game that we played in volleyball, every single one was like tightened down. There was not a big gap starting from the first match we played all to the semifinals. It was close.
Yeah, absolutely. The teams they all look very similar. They're similar size, similar skill level, and the quality of play has been pretty comparable.
Yeah. So we don't always say well done, CIF, but in this case, that was a pretty even.
Well, and that Bishop Diego team had a girl that was a little bit next level, headed to UCLA, so she was very impressive of a player. The girls' tennis team, they earned an at-large spot in the CIF Division II playoffs. Congratulations to Coach Paul and his team as they take on Fullerton on Wednesday at home. Should they win in the first round, the second round will take place on Friday. And finally, the cross-country team, they finished up the league season with the Century Conference Finals last week. Congratulations to the girls' cross-country team for finishing second at league finals and earning a spot in the CIF prelims on November 15th at Mount Sac. The girls were led by Yvonne Lamb and Christina Butner, but also contributing members were Samantha Treadway, Allie Kim, Sophia Kim, and a name we've heard before on the flag football field, Kaylee Tilson, freshman. The boys missed out on the team playoffs, but did have 3 qualify for CIF individuals in Aaron Garcia, William Masanha, and Isaiah Garma.
Oh, all right. Well, hey, we got a lot of stuff going on. Winter sports, like you said, getting going. It's a busy time. It's an exciting time. Can't wait to see football in the playoffs. We'll talk about that. Before we get to that, it is time to check in with Mr. Pfeiffer in the Destination Jiu-Jitsu segment. 54 seconds with 5'4".
Maybe the final destination.
Gentlemen. So let's talk contract.
What do you got?
We just need Destination Jiu-Jitsu to destine us somewhere.
We do.
That'll be in all year long.
Well, we were waiting for you to not do this, and then we were going to work on that whole destination part. Now that you're gone, we can complete our contract. Yeah.
No, I think it'll be fun to get some student personalities going out and interviewing their peers and stuff like that. It'll be kind of fun. So, yeah, I'm going to step down. Right. This has been fun. And it's been loads. This has been so fun. Super Dave was one, right?
Super Dave was a good one.
Good grief. Escaping from my truck. That was another.
That was a good one. Yeah.
Some other beatdowns. What were some other beatdowns?
I think there's a clown in there. There's a clown.
Oh yeah, there's a clown. Oh, dressing up. Like people, I came to the football game last week and people were, well, you didn't dress up. I had money on it. These guys. Hey, big week, right? We went around. Veterans Day's coming up, right? As a proud vet, it's pretty cool. And then going around just checking with the students, we had some fun, asking them some easy questions like, what are the 13 stripes and 50 stars represent? And of course, they all went to elementary school, so they got that one right. November 11th, why we celebrate Veterans Day on November 11th? Do you know?
Yeah.
Why?
We already covered that. I'm in it. Armistice.
Armistice Day,
Yeah,
right?
come
When
on.
we signed the armistice, right?
11th
hour, 11th
11th.
day, 11th month. 11/11/11. I think that's
That's what we're going with.
yeah, that's what we're going with. So we had a good time. We walked around, checked out some athletes, got some good questions, asked them what the branches were. They missed one. They missed one of the military branches.
Oh, the one up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Space Force.
Everyone forgets the Space Force. I was actually impressed that they remembered the Coast Guard, but
We got to sing the song, right? Like if you grew up in the 80s or whatever, you heard
Army,
Navy, Air Force, Marines. What a great place!
It's a great place to start.
He doesn't know.
I grew up in the 90s.
He's a baby.
Anyways. All right, hey,
Here we go. It's been
Let's
nice,
check it out.
gentlemen.
has it?
Not really.
All right.
We'll see, guys. Cypress High School, here we are, Jeff Russell, District Athletic Director. Here we are, two football studs, right? Tyler and Priscilla.
Jackson Houston. Here we are, Jessica Spraglin, our wrestling extraordinaire. Check it out, Krebs.
Hey,
Volleyball.
what's up, guys?
What do the 13 stripes and the 50 stars represent on the flag?
The stars are each state, right? And then the 13 stripes are our colonies.
50 stars represent each one of the states, and the stripes represent the 13 colonies that we used to have.
50 stars are for the states, and the 13 stripes are for the 13 original colonies.
On the
Colonies
flag.
and states.
Colonies and states.
Stars represent the states and stripes represent colonies.
That's right. You know who else got that?
Who?
Coach Russell.
You had some confidence in that
Yep.
answer, right?
Thanks, Mr. Cobley.
What are the branches of the military?
Navy, Army, Navy, Air Force.
Navy, Air Force, Marine.
Okay, we got Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force.
How many are there?
There's 6. You got 3.
You just said Navy
Coast
twice.
Guard.
Oh, Coast Guard. What else?
Army,
The Navy, the Air Force,
Marines,
Marines. How many more is there? One more?
Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard.
That's kind of all I got.
Okay, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. Like the space one? The space one?
And then finally, why do we celebrate Veterans Day on November 11th?
Ooh,
For the veterans.
Yeah, it's called Veterans Day.
Yeah.
That's semantics, right? You
Yeah.
just dissected that sentence.
Right. To honor the people that were serving our country back then.
That's right. Back when?
because that's Armistice Day when they signed something, when they ended the war.
Isn't that the day that we ended World War I? We ended World War I that
Yeah,
day.
11th day, 11th hour, 11th month. right?
Yes.
That's what we're celebrating. Thanks, man.
Of course.
And then, do you know anybody in the military?
I do. Well, not right now, currently. But my aunt was in the Navy.
Oh, nice.
And my aunt's friend was in the Air Force.
So, thanks for their service.
my grandfather.
Your grandfather.
Lifetime Navy guy.
Navy guy, right?
Tell your uncle, thank you for your service.
Thank you, Uncle Darren, for your service. I love you. If you're watching this, I love you and I miss you.
My grandfather on my dad's side was in the Navy.
in World War II, Korea?
During the Vietnam War.
Vietnam, right? Oh, that's right. You're a baby and your mom
Yeah.
and dad are babies.
You're a veteran.
Oh, that's one of the questions. Do you know any veterans?
I do. Thanks
Anybody
for
in your
service,
family? Oh,
man.
you're welcome, brother.
Hey, all right. Well, today, Mr. Pfeiffer, man, I can't believe he's stepping out.
He's now a veteran of 54 with 5'4".
He is.
He's out.
He's a
No
veteran.
longer an active member.
He's gone. Now, you met Mr. Pfeiffer for the first time.
I did, and sad to see him go.
Yeah. I mean, you've watched him like once, and it's
I mean, he brought it. You know, I think the people need it.
every day. He brings it and brought it.
There needs to be a
We
petition.
might have a replacement that could be gooder and better.
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll find out. We're keeping it a secret, but we'll find out what it is. So, anyways, hey, today we're happy to welcome KTLA sports reporter and our good friend Rahshaun Haylock. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, you're. What do you think? Like, I know people can't see it, but it's a little step down from where you're at.
So we've been in this virtual world, right?
Yeah.
These last couple of years. So I've been able. This has become like a tradition unlike any other. You know, me coming on here right before the playoffs start, and so it's been great these last couple of years. But it's been virtual.
Yeah.
You know, I've been inside my cozy confines in Carson, and you guys have been here doing your thing, and now I'm here in the flesh.
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
Awesome.
This is awesome. I wish I had this when I was in
I was
school.
gonna say, do you have anything like that? Even in college?
Not even
or-
close. Well, college, yes.
Minimal.
College, we had a little bit of a studio and things of that nature. But high school, not even. We had a student newspaper, of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was it. As far as for people that wanted to do TV and things like that, nothing like that. And so this is
cool.
big time.
Yeah.
It's big
Well,
time.
Mr. Delgado, obviously, we give a shout out to him all the time. He's really got all this stuff, the grants and all these things, and like the kids are really lucky. Hopefully, they appreciate what they have.
Well done, Mr. Delgado.
Yeah,
That's right.
Well, hey, before we get to all the good stuff of the bracketing and all this, we see you on TV, and I think my favorite part so far was seeing you and the Dodgers when they beat the Padres, and you were in the locker room celebration, and like the champagne. What is that like? Come on, as sports guys, there's nothing better than like be a celebration like that. How was that?
Dude, it was a dream come true.
Right.
So, back in the day, I happened to be in the Laker locker room when they beat the Celtics, but there was a line from here to Anaheim, right, to get inside the locker room, and they had pretty much, sprayed champagne and everything by the time we had all got in there. So it was done. So it was just the aroma in the air. It was, I was completely dry. But this time it was a home game for the Dodgers. They were to knock off the Mets in the NLCS to go to the World Series, and I had the assignment that night to be there, and I was thinking about it all day, Coach. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm like, all right, what do we, because you gotta think, okay, what am I gonna wear, right? Like, because all right, if, you don't, suits are expensive, right? Like,
It's like not that one.
So if there's one that I can kind of get away with, okay, maybe so. And fine folks at KTLA had a rain jacket for me, so I was like, okay, I'll put that one on. And but yeah, you go in there, and those guys are just partying and beer and champagne, and I don't drink, right? But it's just hit me, right? It's all this Budweiser all in my face and everything.
Everyone's spraying you can't turn around. I see you.
Yeah.
You can't it's like nobody could get you the big giant goggles.
No, and I didn't want the goggles.
Oh, you
The eyes burn?
Yeah,
The eyes
so
burn?
I wanted to, because when we were coming up, nobody wore goggles, right?
That's true.
Only Kareem and Worthy.
Yeah, right. That was it, right? That was it. And so I was like, let's see, what this is like. And I was hoping, I wouldn't get hit too hard. And it burned a little bit, but not as bad as I thought. It wasn't as bad as I thought. Like, I wasn't as soaked as much as I would thought. I thought I'd have to change clothes before getting in the car and all that. There was none of that. Eyes didn't really burn too bad. So it was a moment though, Coach. It was a moment.
How late how late do you stay in the locker room? How late are the guys in there before you get in the car? Like,
yeah, so
They celebrate all night, or they just quick on TV
and then leave.
So,
at some point we got to cut it off. They probably go somewhere else to continue.
Yeah, well, there's stages, right? Because they do the whole thing on the field, right, for TV, and they got to give out the trophy and say you're going to the World Series and all that. NLCS MVP, Tommy Edman, they do all that on the field. So while they're on the field doing that, we're in the locker room, bumping each other and giving each other elbows. Everybody's fighting for position in the lobby before they allow us to get into the clubhouse. And so that takes a little bit of a moment. And then once they're in the clubhouse, then that's pretty much just the team, right? They're just doing their whole thing as a team. Then you got the reporters in there as well. And then once that's done, they kind of migrate back to the field because a lot of their families are out there.
Right.
So they're like, their loved ones, their wives and kids and dads and, everybody's out there on the field. So they kind of go back out there, and then we go out there to get ready to do the news and everything. And so it was, I think I got home. This was a 5 o'clock game, mind you, right? So I think I may have got home like maybe around midnight or so that night. So not too bad.
No, I would have thought maybe a little later.
Do they go back into the clubhouse for round 2 of celebration, or once they go out to the field with the family, then they're out?
They might. At that point, they kick us out the clubhouse, so we're not sure. But I don't think they'll go back. Well, there may be a separate portion, but no one's going in that clubhouse. It is tore up. Like there's a puddle of just liquor. Like your wall, like it looked like it had been raining in there. So kudos to those guys that are able to get it ready the next day, right? For those guys to come back in there, because this is still that's still their office, right? They still got to go there the next day. But it is soaking wet in there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, Coach. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I got to admit. Yeah.
Well, one other thing before we get to the bracket stuff, the NIL stuff. So you've probably seen stuff going on, college and things like that. And I'm sure there's opinions, but have you seen or heard anything about how it's working, being affected in high schools? We know it's kind of out of control in college, in my opinion. Like I think it's like way out of control.
Way out of control.
Has there been an effect? Has there been an effect in high school?
There has. Not recently, because some of these states are realizing they need to get on board, right? And so, I know there was an instance here where I think when it first happened, St. John Bosco, like their entire team, their football team had got a deal, and I think it may have happened with one other school. But I remember covering some women's basketball, and there was a young lady that moved here to California from Missouri, I believe, because they didn't have. Missouri was a state that was against NIL. And so she had to come here to be able to take advantage of all those opportunities. And she's a rock star on social media. Jada Williams, she's going into her sophomore year now at the University of Arizona. She's big time basketball player. She transferred to La Jolla Country Day down in San Diego from Missouri because they couldn't have NIL out there. And so it ended up being good for business for her. There's a couple other players that's happened to where they had to leave their state to be able to take advantage of some of those opportunities. There was a football player in Texas who decided to forego his senior year in high school, ended up going to Ohio State, and he transferred from Ohio.
He's the quarterback.
I want to say it's
Quinn
Ewers, right?
Yeah.
It was Quinn Ewers that did that, yeah. So I haven't heard anything like recently, but those were some examples when the thing really got going. Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine we'll get some transfer things.
I think there's been some stuff. There's some kids transferring from Florida and other places to California.
And there's kids here getting deals, for sure. Like Juju, like when she was in high school, like she had a Nike deal.
Yeah.
And that portfolio just continued to grow.
Yeah, she's a superstar.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right, let's get to the brackets.
All right, let's get to it.
New deal. Right, ranked, all sports now ranked, and football now for a couple years ranked your in-season performance. What did CIF get right with the brackets? Maybe what are some things that stood out wrong with the brackets?
Yeah, so it goes back to this whole competitive equity thing, right? And I think one thing that they got right in a sense was they used to go back and take like the last 2 years or whatever it was, right? Now they just kind of look at this season. I think they made that change. And so I think that has been good. But at the same time, and you guys can speak to this, right? Like, when's the last time when you were coaching that you had to think about maybe, it may be beneficial if we
can't do it ever. I'm not doing it.
But those are conversations that are being had amongst high school coaches now in terms of like, would it be more beneficial for us to lose this game than to win it?
I don't like to say I understand the thought, because my brain doesn't. But I get some of them wanting to do that. But isn't the ultimate goal to be the best and play the best and win? If you're losing on purpose to go down, then you're not really playing the best to be the champion. You're working the system and maybe not playing the best schools to be the champ. In order to be the champ, aren't you supposed to play the best schools that are, in this case, comparatively with you to be the champ. I mean, ultimately, you want to be in Division I beating those schools, but not all public schools can do that.
Well, I think that has to be the perspective, though. Like, if you know you can't go to Division I and win it, or if you know you can't be in Division II and win it, right? You might be able to get there and compete, but ultimately you're not going to win 4 games. Then some may think that it's a benefit to drop down a division where we do have a chance to win.
Okay, so my argument against that is in the whole reason for doing this to have competitive brackets like volleyball where everyone has a potential chance. We're going to look at the brackets today and talk about, you know, teams without winning records. They're going into the playoffs thinking, I got a chance, right? So if that's the case, then whatever division you're in, if the rankings are done appropriately, that's a whole other question. Shouldn't you go in there feel like I'm in the right thing and I got a chance to win?
Coach is fired up. I love it.
I am.
This is the conversation, though, right?
Like
Because to your point, Slevy, right? Like if your school's having an all-time year, right? I mean, you the best year you've had in 30, 40, 50 years, right? And you legitimately have a shot. But let's say you get put in D2 when maybe you're probably a D3, D4 school, right? That season, that incredible season, which probably in past years could have ended as a championship, ends up in a first round knockout. You know, so like that, I'm with you though. Like you want to be the best, you want to play the best. But every year we look at like however many teams they put in Division I, right? Like this year is 10, right? So normally it's that last team in Division I, right? That probably would have been the number 1 seed in Division II, had a legit opportunity. Instead, you got to play Bosco. You got to play Modern Day. Like good luck with that, right?
Yeah,
like
right.
It's been real.
Yeah, they're going to celebrate getting into Division I playoffs. They're not going to be celebrating the championship. They're going to be celebrating the honor of earning a Division I.
So I think that's the argument.
Let's go back then. We can't ever prove this, but those teams who maybe have played the reserves, I won't say they tried to lose, played the reserves.
Got to get these young guys some reps, Coach. You know,
and lost the game and dropped down. How many of them went on to win it all? I bet you it's not many.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's really
so play it out. Because take your best team ever and go. We're gonna go for the challenge. We're gonna beat.
Well, the game will kind of police itself that way, right? Like
I think we can look at Cypress High School ourselves, right? We were always in the Empire League of Division 8, Division 9. When they started going to these competitive equity, we moved up to 7, to 6, and then we had a couple of our best teams ever, and we got placed in Division 4, right? The highest we ever had been, and we did compete, right? We made it to the finals one year, and another year to the semifinals and lost to Long Beach Poly, where you may say Long Beach Poly wasn't placed properly.
They were probably not
and they're in
placed.
Division 4
We
again
talked about
this year.
that. I remember us
But
talking
we
about
did go and we competed and we won some games, and shoot, we had a chance to the end.
Yeah.
You know, so. Would Coach Feldman rather have been in Division 5?
Maybe, but maybe
instead of facing Aiden Childs in the finals,
maybe he
Long Beach Poly?
faces someone else during that.
Agreed, who was just as hot and just as good. But we did compete, and we did pretty dang well.
So I think I think that's the argument, right? And like you're never going to get it right, but that just kind of continues to come up. And so I think what happens is you kind of get rewarded at the top end, and then probably at the bottom end. But in the middle is kind of where that minutia involves, right? And so, you know, when I was reading an article, one coach said, you know, mediocrity is rewarded as a result of this new system, which, you know, there can be some truth to that.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of divisions, and you can say that. You even look at, like, you got the Orange County football, right? There's one conference for football, separate from all your league conferences, right? And then they create the leagues from that based on rankings and so on. So we have all these teams that, you know, normally would be in a league where maybe they would have done well. Now they're struggling in the conference. So is the Orange County all football conference versus other areas that don't have that better for this? Worse? Same?
Yeah. I mean, but that's the point, right? So then you go back to some of these schools that don't have the resume, right? Should you be in the playoffs if you're below 500? Should you be in the playoffs if you're not a top 3 team in your league? Which is how it was when I was coming up, right? You had to be top 3, and that's it. Didn't matter, right? Like, so should you be rewarded for that? And I think part of it is some of these teams get put into the playoffs because they got to fill holes, right? The committee does when they're putting the brackets together. They got holes to fill, and so that's how you end up with 2-8 Cypress like you have this year, 1-9 St. Pius like you have this year, because you gotta kind of fill those blanks.
That's right. I mean, if you're going to play the system, then yeah, we deserve a shot to be in the playoffs, and if it works out, it works out, right? I don't know if our coaching staff, was real confident we were going to get in, but at least we gave our kids a chance to make the playoffs, and there was a spot. There we go.
And it's high school football at the end of the day, right? So these kids should have an opportunity to continue to play. However, are we entering the everybody gets a trophy phase, right? And so and always go back to this. And when people have this argument, always go back to this. There was, I forget what year it was, when there was Santa Margarita basketball team went 0-10 in the Trinity League.
Yeah.
And they won CIF. Should that team have even been in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Well, they're a lot better than many other schools, but
clearly they were, right? Yeah, and so and we look at this bracket, right? And St. Pius, very young team this year. Coach D over there, call him Coach D, Devon Thomas. He's been over there for a couple of years now. Great young man, really into pouring into his young man. This is a program that he's kind of building up, right? Semifinalists last year. They were finalists the year before. And so there's talent there, right? Doesn't necessarily have the numbers this year, but they played a very competitive schedule. We talked about earlier this season.
Some would say better than some of the D2, D3 schools.
Exactly, right? So if this team can make a run, like they're literally in a position, they can get past Almighty Cypress on Friday night. This is a team that could literally be in a position. I was texting with someone earlier today saying, this is a team that potentially could win a state championship with a losing record. It's very possible.
We were talking about that. Imagine Cypress or St. Pius wins the championship. You don't put your record on the ring because if St. Pius wins at 1-9, they're going to be 5-9 CIF champs. You just put CIF champ. You can't put the record on there. But there is a chance for those teams.
There is a chance for those teams. And so, you got this matchup right here. It's going to be an interesting matchup. I think one thing about, to your point, Coach Russell, the competitive equity, right? And, you look at Cal Preps, and they have all of these first-round games within one possession ball games. And so, you kind of get a coin flip. And I think that's kind of what the CIF is going for. But as a result of that, you kind of get some of these outliers where it's like, well, should this team be in? Should this team be in this division? Should this team be in at all? All right, and you kind of get some of those questions that come up as a result.
Should a 1-9 team or a 2-8 team have a home game? Because in the top half of the bracket, there's two league opponents, two automatic qualifier league opponents that face each other in the first round. And I know it's just purely based on rankings, but that's interesting that we're 2-8, they're 1-9. We get to face each other. One of us is moving on.
Someone's moving on.
And then two teams, Hemet and Rancho Cucamonga, Rancho Christian, I think, are in the same league, and they face each other to start off.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, right? But I guess when you do the point system, however they do it, right, though, that's the matchup, right? But should those teams be even playing each other in the first round, right? You look at it and you say, probably not, right? They probably should be playing tougher competition and maybe get knocked out in the first round. I was looking at the Division I bracket, right? And you have a public school matchup in the quarters, right? I think it's Mission and Corona Centennial, right? And sometimes I look at those and I think those maybe a little intentional, right? Just to kind of get the public school in, at least say you have at least one public school into the semifinals. And it probably should be the reverse here in this one. We look at Division 8 in terms of having these two teams match up against one another in the first round. I think that's pretty odd.
Yeah.
Two teams combined for 3 wins in the first round. That's phenomenal stuff.
It is. Second round opponent for either one would be Segerstrom or Paramount.
I think Paramount, right? Paramount, you look at that team and I think they have a legitimate shot to probably win the whole thing, right?
As the 15 seed.
Yeah. Well, they're actually the two. Yeah.
On the road.
Well, actually, Segerstrom's getting the home team. Yeah. But I think Paramount. They good body of work right there. I think they're not a team that can probably win the whole thing. I think you got some athleticism there with that Paramount ball club. Obviously, Segerstrom's going to be a tough opponent, but that's another game right there. When you look at Cal Preps, one possession game, right? Like, and they're normally pretty spot on. There's been a couple times where like they've missed bad, but normally Cal Prep is pretty spot on. So
as you just look through that, just take a quick peek. If you're a football coach, the good thing about this is you're looking and there's nobody there that's a world beater that you go, we cannot beat. Again, back to CIF trying to make it right. You got to feel like you can beat everyone on there.
Yeah. So if you look at just that, right? Like, we got a shot. If you look at just that, then I think year after year of this competitive equity philosophy, then CIF gets it right. Now, within there, you start digging into the minutiae and everything, then you find a few outliers, right? But I think Paramount's a team that you got to watch in this one. Beckman, obviously the number 1 seed in here. That's a team you got to watch. I mean, but we've seen this before, right? When you have these brackets that are so equal, right? Like, I mean, a team can get hot, right? And football, you got a ball, bounced a funny way or a wrong way or a different way, and that's kind of how these historic runs, tend to happen. But I mean, Los Osos there. I mean, they're a perennial power, or a power out there in the Inland Empire. Something that's interesting to me, if we can get there, right? Semifinals, St. Pius against Salesian, and that's because Coach Devon.
No offense to Coach Feldman.
No offense, Coach.
Just saying,
if it happens.
He's going Catholic school.
If something happens, with your guys.
Yes.
But Coach Devon Thomas, when Salesian had it going, this was probably mid part of the last decade. Like, Coach Thomas was there, and he had a bunch of kids there. Diamador Lenore was a starting cornerback right now for the San Francisco 49ers. Like, he was one of those players there that kind of built up that Salesian program, and they became like a small school power, so to speak. He was there during that time, so to kind of go up against his old school, I think that would be pretty interesting. But if I gotta, I'll go Beckman here. I'll go Beckman.
Beckman to win it.
To win it.
To win it all.
To win the entire division.
That's Coach Feldman's buddy, Marcello, out there at Beckman.
Yeah,
so maybe we can get there and face him in the
past.
Yeah.
That'd be a great final. All right. Well, hey, you know what comes now? It's that part of the show we do fast action questions. You've done this many times. It starts to get hard to try to figure out. I know you so well. I gotta find like new things to talk about. But you ready?
Let's go. Let's do it.
All right. Biggest change that you've seen on the Cypress High campus? We took a tour today, walked around.
We did take a tour today.
First time you've been on campus in a while.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
It's been a minute since I've been here. I'll say the things I'll say the track.
Yeah.
The track and the football field. I think he
was setting you up for that one.
Yeah,
well, it's pretty
obvious.
Yeah.
Here.
Dude, I mean, this part obviously this is near and dear to me.
Yeah.
Like, if this was here when I was here, I may still be here. Like,
sorry, Mr. Delgado,
job. But this is much better than I anticipated. I didn't know you guys had such a great setup here.
Yeah.
So this is obviously great, and this is great for the kids, near and dear to me, because obviously this is my field, and I wish we would have had something like this, coming up. But then to go out there and see that brand new field, that brand new track, I don't know if I've ever seen a navy blue track before, so that was pretty sweet. And then you got like kind of at the corners, you got like the orange that I missed the first time walking through. That part that's pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet.
Pretty good choices on those, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So, talent knows talent, I would say, right? So,
right.
What was it like when you had Russell Westbrook congratulating you on kind of making it when you were interviewing him? Tell me that wasn't a pretty.
It was really cool. It was really cool. One of the cooler moments that I've had.
I will say I've watched that a bunch of times because I love your face when he does it. It's just you didn't know that was coming.
Caught me off guard.
Yeah,
completely. And then like we're on live TV. I'm trying to keep it togetger.
Yeah.
You never
know what people say on live TV.
You never know, right? Yeah. You never know what they say on live TV. So, it was just so. Just give you a little background. So when I was here, in my last year here, part of the reason why I left here is because I got an opportunity with Lawndale Community Cable. So we talked about that. We sat down over lunch. One of the toughest decisions I ever had to make was leaving you. And so my first interview there doing sidelines for them was Russell Westbrook. He was a freshman at UCLA at the time, and his younger brother was on the football team. And so guys got in my ear. It was like, hey, I think Russ is here, whatever. So I went up, introduced myself, had him come down. Hey, do you want to do an interview? And he's like, yeah, for sure. So he came down, did the interview. He hadn't even started playing yet, right? 'Cause it's still the fall, but he had just got to UCLA. And so, we did the interview. And ever since then, every time I seen him, it's always just like love, right? Like it's, I don't really know him. I don't claim to know him well or anything like that. But like every time you see him, like, hey, what's up, Brody? This, that, and the other. Congratulations, whatever. Happy for you.
He remembers those times, and to bring it up too. I think that was a pretty special.
That was pretty cool. So fast forward to that day. I get there. I walk in the locker room at Crypto. I walk in the locker room, and I'm just kind of meandering, trying to see if I can talk to a couple players, trying to get a couple last minute notes. And Russ is at his locker. He's like, hey, what up, bro? He's like, how you doing? I was like, I don't know. It's my first day. We'll see how it goes. I was like, I don't know what I know. I was like, I have no idea. I was like, I'm filling in for Christina today, so we'll see how it goes. He's like, all right, for sure. He's like, good luck, bro. And so, they were getting just creamed. They were down like 20 in the fourth quarter. They come back. Russ leads the comeback. So it's easier. Like, oh, we're gonna interview Russ post game. And then he does that, and it's like, oh wow. And it was my wife texted me, we know Russell Westbrook.
What do you mean we? I do.
And so like that part was cool, and like just all the texts, and the thing just went viral. And then after that, I had the opportunity to go on the road to like with the Clippers for a couple games, and like every arena we went to, like, hey, congratulations, blah blah, like cool. Just some of the nicest people like you've ever met in all these different parts of the country. So that was pretty cool.
That's neat. Well, thinking back to like early times, do you remember getting that nervous feeling when you did a shoot? You went to shoot a stand up after a Clipper game. And do you remember doing this maybe? And then you had some words of encouragement from Beto Duran.
Yeah.
So you remember going, now that you're comfy, right? You sit here now, you're so comfy doing it all. Do you remember back to the nervous days and that moment and him giving you the encouragement? Do you remember those things?
Oh, all the time. Yeah. It's hard not to walk in that building and not think that, especially, well, we won't have that anymore, but when the Clippers were, it's like that game, of course, like that came back to me because it was the Clipper floors, the Clipper game. And so you think about that, or like sometimes like I'll see younger aspiring reporters, whatever, doing something, and I'll look at them and I'll kind of see myself, during that time, and just what a nervous Nelly I was. Yeah. Like it was we're not live. It's nothing, right? But it's like you're on this stage. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm inside Staples Center. Yada yada yada. Like all these things are going through my mind, and I'm looking around, and like there's just noise everywhere, right? And you're trying to focus on what you're saying and talk to a camera, which is an unnatural thing in itself. And Beto just coming over and like, yo, just kind of calming me down. That's still my guy, to this day. Yeah. Good people, but yeah, it's to kind of see the growth and the maturity from then. Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of growth and maturity, we talk to our athletes all the time about things they learn in athletics that they still or will use in the future, right? So you were involved with the Northridge basketball program for many, many years. What's something that you learned then that you still use now?
I think one thing that's helped me, and I've had different broadcast partners tell me this while calling basketball, is just like a knowledge that I have of the game of basketball, right? Like there's certain things that, like that I can pick up just having been around it for so long, whether it's with Coach Braz, whether it was learning under YouTube, while I was here. The Princeton offense, it's every time there's a backdoor play, I always say it's the prettiest play in all of basketball. Like I remember I learned that offense here because of you, and so whenever I see it or some variation of it, it just quickly comes back to me, and I quickly think about you guys in my time here and just how fond I was of that time and how I grew. I don't think I ever told you this. I hated that offense. Like, oh my gosh. I was like, I'm taking over. He's entrusted me to be able to be a head coach, and I have to learn this offense and fake it till you make it, right? I'm a visual learner. You gave me this playbook. I'm like, what the heck is this, right? Like, I have to see things for them to like, and so we had that practice. I don't know if you remember this, but we had that practice. You had all the coaches come out, and we ran the offense, and that's how I learned the offense. And then, of course, Coach Selby, he was there to help me as well. And then from that moment on, fell in love with it. Like, in love with it. And every time I see it, I think glowingly about that time and those moments and just how I grew during that time. Because you come into something, think you have a plan, and then, you know, talking to you and you're my boss, and you're like, okay, this is what we're going to run. And so I was so scared, Coach. I don't think you understand. Like, how am I going to teach this to these kids? Like, I have no idea what this is. Like, but
apparently we didn't either.
but to be able to learn it and, you know, have you teach it to me and just to instantly fall in love with it, oh man, it's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Favorite Halloween candy?
Oh man, I'm not a big candy person, but it would have to be something that they don't give out enough. Like, I went through my kids' Halloween candy.
Tootsie Rolls?
No, dude, she got like 1 million of those. I'm like,
Really?
dude, this is awful.
Who gives those
like,
anymore?
It's not 1988. Get rid of the Tootsie
yeah,
Rolls.
right. It's for
Terrible.
me. It's like some kind. Oh, gummy bears or sour gummy bears. Some sour gummy bears.
Oh.
So they still give out gummy bears, but like the sour ones, like sour worms, think like that stuff. That
I don't know what it was. I had the AD at Kennedy, Jankowski, gave me like this. I don't know. It was like sour things, but it had like little pebbles on the outside too. I don't know what it was. I gotta find out. They were unbelievable.
Phenomenal. It
I
sounds
gotta let you know what those
fantastic.
are. Halloween costume? Did you dress up?
Did not dress up.
Dress up this year.
It's been a minute since we've dressed up.
Your daughter dressed as?
My daughter dressed as Princess Peach.
Okay, hang on.
We had to. Do you know who Princess Peach is?
From Mario Kart.
Oh!
We had no idea.
We had no idea.
Oh, you didn't?
No clue.
Me or my wife had no idea. All right, we asked our daughter, we were Summer, what do you want to be for Halloween? She said Princess Peach. We said, who is that? Had no idea. And so we, figured out, she's like, it's the
We
princess.
played Mario Kart in the house.
Oh,
Yeah. See, I'm so behind with my kid teaches me daily, in terms of what's hip and what's hot and what's not, and she's only 5, so we got a long way to go.
How much money would you have gotten in your NIL deal? Would you have owed money?
Probably would have owed. I may have gotten a bottle of Gatorade.
When you're just sitting around the house, what's on TV?
Oh man. Well, lately it's been the Dodger Victory Parade. I just can't get enough of that. I just keep watching it over and over. It reminds me of my childhood. So I've been watching that on a loop. But typically it's something live, it's some game or the news. But typically it's like SportsCenter or a game or something. Yeah.
Your Instagram says you love your wife, your daughter, and chicken tacos. Where in the world are these chicken tacos that compare to your beautiful family? I mean, they gotta be amazing. I mean, your wife, your daughter, beautiful, and then chicken tacos? Where's this place?
They're everywhere. But
there can't be one.
They're everywhere,
that
but not
your
everywhere.
wife and your daughter.
No, well, it's in order though. It's not.
There wasn't a bunch of dots. It was wife, daughter.
But chicken tacos were at the end though, right? So
they were right there.
Placement. It's at the end. It's at the end. You can't get me in trouble, Coach.
No. I'm not trying. I'm just saying these must be good chicken tacos. Where's the place? Where are we going if we're going to get chicken tacos?
If we're going to get chicken tacos, most times they're homemade.
Oh, well then never mind. Then they are right there. Then they are. That's just leave it. That's the best answer you can give. Made by my lovely wife.
But it's one of those things that's fluid, right? You'll find a spot and then you'll find another spot. So it just kind of all depends on what's the flavor.
Come down to my area. We'll go to KV to tacos. That's a new one. Oh,
yeah,
so good.
I'm become a big fan of pollo asado tacos lately. So that's a variation of chicken, right? So
never asada though. No meat.
No meat. No beef. No pork. Yeah. You remember.
Always. All right. Hey, well today, thanks again. Rahshaun Haylock here. We really appreciate you being a part of the program. Thanks to our sponsors, Coach's Corner and Destination Jiu-Jitsu. Make sure you get out and support those businesses as they support us. Thanks again for watching. Get out and support that football team this week on Friday night on the road. St. Pius.
The 10th.
The 10th. St. Pius. It's in
Downey.
Downey. Get out there and see them. See you guys next week.